Good morning, my beloved students. How are you today? I hope you are well today. Now we are starting our lesson today, but before that, I would like to invite you to pray. I'm going to lead us to pray. Let's pray together. Amen. Well, students, before we starting our lesson, I would like to check your attendance list. You can check it in our Google Classroom group. Please click present if you follow this class. Well, today we are going to talking about the recon text. Okay, what is the recon text? Recon text is one type of text in English that contains the story of an action or activity of the author or the characters in the story. The activity or action in question is the author experience expressed on the recon text. Usually the purpose of recon text is to entertain the readers as well as provide information. Well, now we continue talking about the types of recon text. Here, recon texts have 4 types. The first type is the personal recount. Okay, what is the personal recount? The personal recount is a recon text that has a function to tell about the author's personal experience. Personal recount is the most common type commonly used to write a recon text. The second type of recon text is factual recount. Factual recount is a recount text that has a function to present report about events that occurred based on a fact or really happened. For example, include reports on a scientific experiment or reports from the police. The third is imaginative recounts. Imaginative recounts is a recount text that has a function to tell imaginative events. For example, a recount text that tells the author experience in imagining a scan that he got from his dream. Well, the last type of recount text is historical recount, where historical recount is a recount text that contains history. An example is a recount text about the proclamation of Indonesian independence and so on. Okay, the next subtitle about recount text is the generic structure of recount text. Recount text has 3 main structure or generic structure the first is orientation. The first structure that contains about information about the character, the place of the incident, when the incident took place, and so on. The information provided by the author is expected to provide the knowledge or information needed by the reader in order to understand the storyline. The second generic structure of the recount text is events. This is about the contents of the text or in the form of stories about events or experience that the authors want to convey the reader. And the last is reorientation. The third structure contains conclusion and summarize or repetition of information in the orientation structure. Now we are continue talking about the characteristics of recon text. The first characteristic of recon text is recon text use past tense or past sentence. For example, the use of verb 3, when, woke up, departed, need, ate, and so on. The second characteristic of recon text is recon text use part of speech adverb and adverbial to explain the time, place, and manner. For example, like October, Bandung, on third day, at the park, and so on. The third characteristic of recon text is talking about recon text use part of speech conjunction and time connectives to short events and in the story to form a coherent script. Example of recon, for example, such as and, after, the, that, before, and so on. Well, let's continue about the language feature of free context. The first is using personal participants such as I, me, my, and so on. The second is using chronological connections such as first, then, and so on. The third is using linking verbs such as where, was, heard, saw, and so on. The next is using action verbs such as go, look, check, change, run, and so on. The last is using the simple past tense. The social function of free context that we need to pay attention is: the first is focus on individual people, such as using a personal participant, namely I or we. The second is using words that indicate when and where the incident or event occurred. The third is write using the past sentence or the past tense. And the last is using action words as in language feature. Well, students, that's all our material about the free context. I hope you can understand about our topic today. And if you have questions, you can share it